In this video, we're gonna continue working on this house woven wall hanging. So let's get started. Here's where I left off. We have the whole base work done for this woven wall hanging. We've got the roof, we've got the main section of the house, and some what are going to be flower bushes, I think, in the front. Now, I have some exciting things that are gonna happen in the house area. I'm not entirely sure on everything yet, which is part of the fun. We're gonna explore this together, but I have some things up my sleeve. First, we're going to work on the actual flowers for these flower bushes. And my thoughts for creating these flowers are doing French knots with some yarn. I'm also keeping in mind what I want to hang this from. But first I'm gonna just try to find a needle that's gonna be good for doing these French knots. It's like a really thick regular sewing needle, but I think it would be considered almost like a tapestry needle, but a different kind of tapestry needle than I talk about, which are these ones. So I'm gonna use that just because it has a pointy edge, and this cotton frizz ribbon is essentially ripped up cotton fabric. So I figured having something pointy to actually poke through the woven parts of the cotton frizz ribbon would be a little bit easier. I have a couple different shades of pink. These were just in my stash. Unfortunately, I won't be able to link them or anything because they're very old. There are things in my yarn stash that are many, many years old, and you know, I obviously don't want to waste yarn by just always having only new stuff. So I believe these both would be thinner than a worsted weight. So whatever that is. But I like the idea of having a couple different shades just to add some depth and texture in there. Also, one of these yarns is a little bit shinier, one of them is more matte, so I think that will also be pretty. I want to prop up the loom for doing this because I'm gonna be reaching underneath the loom a lot, so maybe a few books would be easiest. All right, so I'm just gonna grab a pretty random length of this yarn. I don't do a ton of embroidery, but I want to do more, so we're just gonna learn. We're just gonna experiment. I'm just choosing a random spot to start, but I'm realizing I should probably attach the yarn in the back first. I think that would be easier. Maybe I'll start over here because there's like an obvious warp string right here, so I can easily knot this into place before I start. And now I guess I'm starting on the right side. I planned on starting on this side, whatever. For this one, I could specifically at least come, I'm gonna do a lot of wraps. Maybe if I come down the other side of this warp string. Okay, that worked. So we have our first little flower right there. Love that. So I think that the method to this is you have to be a little bit careful where you're going back down into the weaving. So in this case, I actually made this French knot, which is a little bit loosey-goosey. I'm fine with that. I made it around a warp string. So I came up on one side of a warp string, did my little French knot, and then I went down the other side to make sure that I was grabbing onto something, because I think that's gonna be the challenge here is you have to make sure that you are actually grabbing onto something or the knot just pulls through. So I'm gonna just keep adding those. I can also utilize, again, the woven sections of the ribbon, but I can also just utilize those warp strings. Okay, I'm just gonna keep adding these full knots until they're kind of evenly spread throughout, and then I'm gonna move on to adding the next color of them. Oh, you guys, French knots are no joke. They take a long time, but come on. I feel like this is looking so pretty, and so I definitely think it's worth it. It's just really slow for me. I did take a third color. So the colors I'm using are this, what would I even call this? Like a soft, light, peachy pink. Then we have this one that is like it's got a little bit more orange in it. It's a bit shinier. It is a variegated yarn. And then I brought in this very like mauvey pink, so it's got more purple in it. That combination of colors is so beautiful together, mixed with this very dark, mossy, greeny brown kind of color. It actually looks more green now, but if you look at it next to a green, it doesn't look as green. This is pretty full now, so I'm gonna stop, actually no, I'm gonna do one more just up here, and then I'm gonna move over to the other side and essentially do the same thing. So I thought I would show you how messy the back of this is looking in where I did all those French knots. And normally I like to try to keep the backs of my pieces very neat and tidy. However, when you're doing something like this, it kind of is what it is. I still have other messiness. I don't know. This one is gonna have a lot going on, so the back is gonna just naturally be less tidy than some of my other pieces. I'd rather the front be amazing and the back be messy than to try desperately to keep the back tidy. That was a lot of French knot. It's been almost an hour and a half, and this is what I have done. It is so worth it though. Man, I just have to say, just as a little rabbit trail, I've been doing these multi-part videos in order to create space for myself to be able to work on more detailed projects. I feel a new, re-excited, if that's a word, feeling now that I've given myself the chance to work on more detailed projects. I absolutely love this, but this took an hour and a half. Like, that's not a small amount of time. And yes, part of it is I don't do these all the time, so I could get faster at it, I'm sure. But I mean, look how pretty this is. I think we're ready to start talking about the windows and the door. So I went down a little rabbit hole on Etsy and I went searching for window and door laser cut files, and then we cut doors and windows. So I'm gonna show you. I still wanna paint these though, I think, but oh my gosh, this is going to be so stinking cute. Of course, if you don't have a laser, you could always use like a heavy cardstock for this, or even if you wanted to hand cut them with like a basswood that you can cut with a knife. There's options. But we have a laser because I make these, shameless plug here, I make our looms and our combs with our laser. And so I thought, I'm gonna utilize this tool. Already, I just love it so much. I do, like I said, want to paint them so that they have a little bit more of an interesting look to them. And I do think that they need some more contrast with the off-white. So I want to paint them and let them dry, and then we'll move on to needle felting. All right, I've been thinking about this piece for a while, and I really feel like the roof isn't really giving me enough texture. I'm just gonna try some stuff. Let's see what happens. So if you guys remember the vertical weaving video, if you haven't seen it, check it out. I think we have a couple on the channel now, and weave in vertical lines. And I'm actually thinking that might be a good way for me to add some shingles. Okay, I've done a number of rows of this just vertical weaving, which is kind of just like embroidery, but I'm staggering the rows, as you can see, so I'm not grabbing the same wefts on every row. I'm staggering them, and I think this is adding some good texture. It really needed it. So I'm gonna keep going. All right, I've got all the vertical lines in, already loving this. We're gonna move on to the windows and the doors. What I wanna do is actually take my X-Acto knife and just cut out the windows and doors, but I'm gonna cut inside the lines a little bit. So I'm gonna kind of cut halfway through the windows and the doors, so that when I do my needle felting, I'm not going beyond where the window is gonna sit, but you're also not gonna see any of this inside of the window, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna grab my cutting mat and do that now. So now I'm gonna be setting this on top of my piece and carefully marking out where those windows and doors are going to sit. I'm gonna use my trusty air and water soluble ink, which I feel like I need to get something better than this. If anyone has any suggestions, like maybe just some sort of fabric pen. I like this because I could get it off if I really wanted to, but it does its job well, and it does start to disappear while I'm still needing to see it. And so I'm just gonna mark all the corners and we'll go from there. Okay, I think I'm ready to start needle felting, thank goodness. I'm gonna grab a couple of books to prop up my loom so that it's a better height for this, because I need my trusty felting pad. And we do sell some needle felting supplies in our shop, so you can visit spruceandlinen.com to check that out. All right, so I do want to create this feeling of a window reflection happening. So I'm going to be using this light blue and then going in with an off-white, which is just the natural undyed merino, to create a bit of a cloud look. So I'm just going to grab a piece of this. First, I'm going to use my multi-needle felting tool, and I'm just going to start stabbing this in. So that's all that needle felting is. You need to do it with actual wool, as far as I know, because wool has what's called little burrs on the actual hairs themselves, which helps them felt better. And every once in a while, I'm gonna peel this up from my needle felting pad that I have back there, because I don't want it to get super, super felted into that. So I'm just gonna keep going. This is gonna take me a while. And I'm gonna keep checking that this will fit in my window. So I can already see that I'm almost getting a little bit too narrow. So I need to really pay attention to making sure that I'm not making this too small. Okay, I have my first just plain old rectangle, but I kind of want to start thinking about my cloud situation. So let's take some wispy pieces and just see what that could look like. It's getting a little bit lost in there, so I'm not sure I love that. Kind of makes me wonder if instead of like doing overtly clouds, if I should create a little bit more of just an ombre look. So once again, I'm just gonna take that off. It's like kind of like Velcro. So I did that base of light blue. I have the off-white, and then I have this slightly darker blue that I could add to the bottom and just see how that looks. Okay, I'm just gonna keep going and see where it takes me. Something I've discovered, especially when using this multi-needle felting tool, these aren't gonna be super felted because I want them to look fuzzy still, and not have a lot of poke marks in them, if that makes sense. So what I'm doing is I'm needle felting a bunch, and then because there's multiple needles in here, I'm just sort of going back and brushing it a little bit to kind of fluff it back out. And that kind of gets rid of some of those hole marks that happen with the needles. And again, because this is going to be going over top like this, I'm not worried about this like falling out. This is a woven wall hanging. It's not going to be handled much at all. It's going to just be hanging. So I like that more fluffy look. So after, again, I needle felt, I'm just going to comb it out a little bit to make it look soft. So now we have to try to figure out how to get these windows on here. That being said, we might first want to tuck in the ends. So I'm going to quickly finish the back of this, and then we will figure out, oh, even that end got felted in. That's funny. Look at all those. They got like felted in so nicely. Okay. That's just like a strategy I never thought to really do, to be honest. So I don't have that many ends to even tuck in, which is wonderful. You know what? That's knotted. I'm just gonna cut those ends off. I think that'll be just fine. I'm like nerve-sighted. Do you know what I mean? Well, I definitely made these too thin. I should have made the outside of these windows wider so it was easier to glue. So if you look at the door, this is gonna be super easy to glue because it's nice and wide. And the windows, ugh, they're gonna be challenging, I think. So, oh, maybe it won't be that bad, but I'm gonna have to move pretty quickly here. And I'm gonna have to deal with the little hairs afterwards so that it's still hot when I put it on. Okay, maybe that was less awful and scary than I thought it was gonna be. I think in this scenario, some needle nose pliers would be helpful just to pick out any of the little hairs. I think that's the biggest trick with hot glue, is that you just gotta make sure you remove any of the evidence that you even used hot glue, and then it's like, how would they ever know? So I think the trick is you gotta make sure that the glue is really nice and hot, and then I don't think it needs to go on every part of the window because then it just dries too fast. So window number 1 is on, but I think it would be wise to just go ahead and do the finishing first and then glue the rest of the stuff on. And then that'll give my glue gun even more time to be nice and hot. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'm gonna go ahead and glue the rest of the windows and then the doors next. All right, I made it. It worked. So now I'm gonna go ahead and clean up all the little, I don't know what else to call them. It's like the little webby bits that hot glue always makes. It's not too bad though. So I'm gonna finish this up and then we're gonna have a look at the final piece. All right, you guys, it's all done. I'm so in love with this. Let's have a look at the finished piece. I love this so much. Let me know what you think in the comments down below and check out this video next.